talk to you about your decision and what the DPS director said.
How's it going?
Good, I'm Pete. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
I
meet
want
you.
to talk to you about the decision and what
Department we're doing, but just to let y'all know, and I just spoke with.
I know you did. But
You're not blocking me, are you?
No. Turn this way.
No, just so y'all know. Just so you all know, obviously, we're not going to release anything. We have people in our community being buried, so we're going to be respectful.
I just want your reaction
we're going to be
the director McGraw saying that you were responsible for the decision to go into that room. How do you explain yourself to the
We're going to be respectful to the family.
I understand that, but you have an opportunity to explain yourself to the parents.
And just so you know, we're going to do that eventually, obviously.
When?
And whenever this is done, and let the families quit grieving, then we'll do that, obviously. And just so everybody knows, we've been in contact with DPS every day. Just so you all know.
They say that you're not cooperating.
I've been on the phone with them every day.
They say you're not cooperating. So just 2 seconds.
Just so you know, we've been talking to them every day.
What is your reaction?
Y'all have a good day.
What is your reaction, sir?
That is the police chief, Pete Arredondo, who, according to one of the most recent news cycles, which change every day, was the man in charge who made the decision to not send in the cops to save the kids in that school shooting, even though all of their training documents, because they are well trained, well funded, well prepped in terms of equipment, they've done training for these specific things. All those documents say if you are a single cop and you show up there, you go in and you save them. So they didn't do that. The whole group didn't do their training, apparently because of that individual. And it's now been about a week, and they have received a lot of criticism for what they did, and more importantly, didn't do while that shooting was going on, and all the lies that have been told since then, which we're gonna go through. And Jayar, he seemed very inconvenienced by the fact that CNN dared to talk to him, the condescending pat on the shoulder, the continually hiding behind, well, I mean, I can't answer any questions about what we did because people are grieving. No, dude, they want answers too. Maybe especially they want answers. The fact that you are not gonna answer questions about what you did, what orders you gave, by hiding behind the grieving parents who are the product of those decisions is pretty disgusting.
And the fact that he can't see that irony, or at least look for a way to make himself look better in this situation, you have to be prepared to go for this. Maybe even say, yep, I made that bad decision. And maybe as the investigation goes, we'll see. From what I'm telling now, these people need training in how to take responsibility, no matter how bad the consequences will be. This is something that we're supposed to teach our kids to be able to do. But instead, this guy says, you're gonna block my way. I'm trying to walk in, we're doing nothing else. Well, two of the sentences he said there, he said, we're gonna be respectful to the families. Yeah. By not talking about what happened to their children and their family members, we're gonna be respectful to the families. And also, when the families stop grieving, then we'll give these informations to talk about and do that, investigate this. When are the families gonna stop grieving? They're actually probably never going to stop grieving. Would you stop grieving after your 10-year-old was murdered in the way that it was, and that they probably were? And then you have to go through this funeral arrangements, and then the actual funeral itself, and then everyone talking about what they're not gonna do in response to it. When will that grieving stop? Is there an end date to grieving? Is it 2.5 months? Is it a year? Or is it just long enough for us to stop bugging you about this? That's how long it takes.
It ain't when the parents are gonna stop grieving, it's when the reporters are gonna stop pestering. That's all it is. Like, and look, I'm gonna exercise a little bit of empathy, play a little bit of devil's advocate. I can appreciate how that police chief, he must really be shocked that you guys are still asking questions about this. Like, that was a whole week ago. And people still want answers about why we left the shooter in there with a bunch of kids who are desperately calling to get help. Stop asking, just move on. And by the way, the police department looks like, at least according to the reports, it kind of has moved on. According to ABC News, the Uvalde Police Department and the Uvalde Independent School District Police Force are no longer cooperating with the Texas Department of Public Safety's investigation into the massacre and the state's review of the law enforcement responses, according to multiple law enforcement sources. Police chief and a spokesperson for the Uvalde Independent School District did not immediately respond to requests for comment, which, look, sometimes you need to know what a group is thinking. So you'll reach out to the police department, you need to know what they're thinking. But if what you're getting them to comment on is, are you guys not cooperating anymore? And they don't respond, they kind of responded then. kind of feels like you're not cooperating if you won't even respond to like a media request to like, hey, do you have anything to say? Then you're probably not working with them here. But anyway, according to sources, the decision to not cooperate occurred soon after the director of DPS, Colonel Stephen McCraw, held a news conference back on Friday, during which he said the delayed police entry to the classroom was the wrong decision. They apparently didn't like that. The police chief in particular seems to have not liked that since he's the one in charge. But they say the Uvalde Police Department and Uvalde CISD police have been cooperating with investigators. The chief provided an initial interview, but has not responded to a request for a follow-up interview with the Texas Rangers that was made 2 days ago. So no, we totally are responding. Initially, before I realized I should be running as fast as I can, I did briefly talk to someone, and now they're trying to talk to me, and days have gone by, and I haven't responded, and yet somehow that still counts as cooperating, JR.
I think maybe this shows why these decisions were made, because that's really the question that wants to get asked. If you're willing to take the heat and the responsibility for these decisions, when someone comes in and asks, you can say, okay, let's talk about it. I made this decision for that reason. I was thinking this way. And you know those are gonna be bad reasons and you don't really wanna say it. But if you had that forethought to think about how we need to protect folks, and actually our job is to do something as far as protecting these folks, and we didn't do it. I think if he had that forethought, maybe he wouldn't even have done it in the first place. This just continues with this same conscious flow of, I'm supposed to detach myself from this. I'm supposed to not take responsibility. And now let's not even cooperate, because the objective now is not to get the answers or even to own up to what you did wrong. It is to get away from the problem. It's full court press, avoid, run away, hope they stop talking about it. That's one of those things that just isn't gonna work out anymore. And I'm surprised that it ever did. But maybe we're waking up. Maybe that's why they don't like the term woke, because people are better asleep and letting people like this just run off and say, yeah, we're not gonna cooperate. Yeah, I'm not gonna talk about what I did wrong. Good luck burying your children.
Yeah, geez, I mean, we'll see. Anyway, I wanted to let people know about, we talked about the fact that they're not cooperating. One of the reasons we need their cooperation is to understand why they give us so much information that wasn't accurate. So recently we found out that the idea that the school door was left open, that wasn't true. It apparently didn't lock, but it had been shut. State police initially said that a teacher had propped it open, and when they put that out, they didn't say, so they're responsible. But that's kind of the message you're seeming to send. Turns out that's not true. The teacher did close the door. It just didn't lock as it was supposed to. And so that turns out not to have been true. And that's just the latest in a number of different things where law enforcement and state officials have struggled to present an accurate timeline and details of the event. They've given conflicting information. They've withdrawn statements just hours after giving them. Now they say some accounts were preliminary and may change as more witnesses are interviewed. It has been a week. I'll just tell you, I feel like you could talk to these people relatively quickly. And so like the door, was it propped open or was it not? Okay, maybe seems like a small detail, but if the implication is that the teachers are responsible, maybe make sure before you put it out there. The idea that they engaged the shooter outside of the school. The idea of how long he was outside before going in. That number kept going up until eventually it hit like 12 minutes. Then how long he was on the inside. That number kept ballooning until it was well past an hour. The idea that they didn't think they needed to go in because they didn't think there was any danger, directly contradicted by the continuing phone call, now actual audio of phone calls coming out of the kids saying, you've got to save us. And so JR, like there can be no faith, no trust. And the idea that it's just up to this guy, like maybe we'll get a statement from him. If a reporter catches him between his car and the building, maybe he'll respond to the Texas Rangers phone call at some point. How is he not like, you need to hold him. Like we need answers. It shouldn't be if this guy if he's feeling like cooperative, we should get them. Did he make a decision that resulted in multiple deaths? Did he cover it up immediately after to save his ass and the asses of other cops? Is that what he did? We're talking about potential crimes, and he seems inconvenienced by the fact that he had to briefly give a statement before walking into a meeting.
John, what you're forgetting is that police officers are above the law. They don't have to answer to investigations. If it is something that leads towards criminal accusations, they don't have to talk about it. They're cops. That's part of the appeal of becoming a cop. Again, I've said it several times. I think it was up in Delaware or New Hampshire's Northeast state. One of the appealing parts about, there was an ad out recruiting cops. And one of the appealing parts of this ad is like you're selling the job was you got qualified immunity. So whatever you do, you're off the hook, bro. What type of people does that type of post attract? People who don't like taking responsibilities for their actions, but definitely like doing other stuff that comes with the job, like playing with all the toys and potentially going after the bad guys. Unless the bad guys have a really big gun and armored and body armor to stop you from stopping them. Then, I didn't sign up for this. One more thing. He talked about that side door entrance that was left unlocked or open or whichever one they're talking about, and the teacher's potentially responsible, which is what they hinted at. Lauren Windsor, old friend of the show, she went to the NRA conference over the weekend, and she snuck in a side door at the NRA conference and walked right by all security, went into some VIP area, and then took pictures and talked about how she got in so easily.
Yeah.
What she didn't do was walk in with a big old gun because they didn't allow those. Yeah. Weird how that works. So the side door can be open at this school, but if somebody's not walking in with a huge gun and starts unloading on everyone, he walked into the school, just like Lauren Windsor walked into the NRA conference.
Exactly.
Side doors can be left open by negligent people all the time. But then what happens once the person who's looking to commit harm then walks in with?
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.